This is really funny video of Donald Trump stepping in it again, but this time it's much more innocuous. It's not a crisis. It's just funny ignorance and lack of context, but it actually relates to a really serious issue related to one of the most important issues we deal with as a human species right now, and that is climate change and pollution and what we're doing to our country. So let's start with the clip and then talking about it will be even more illuminating after we watch. Make sure if you're watching on YouTube that you've hit the subscribe button to our channel right now. Trump was asked about the plastic straw controversy, and here's what he had to say.
I do think we have bigger problems than plastic straws. You know, it's interesting about plastic straws. So you have a little straw, but what about the plates, the wrappers, and everything else that are much bigger, and they're made of the same material? So the straws are interesting. Everybody focuses on the straws. There's a lot of other things to focus, but it's an interesting question.
You know, the plates are usually not plastic anymore. So at any place that's worried about plastic straws, it's probably paper plates. But that's just Trump being out of touch. He's probably still in the mindset of the styrofoam food containers or something. Who knows? So there are like three interesting layers here, because this is just some dumb Trump statement, but there's actually important stuff here. Trump, under the belief that the straws are plastic, but so are the plates and the cups and everything, is sort of saying, like, to really deal with the plastic problem, you might have to consider banning the plates and the utensils and the cups and everything else, because the straws are really small. He seems almost like open to the idea of banning all plastic implements of this kind. Like, he's sort of saying banning only plastic straws doesn't go far enough. That's interesting because it doesn't sound like it would be Donald Trump's politics. Now, the backstory about the straws specifically is that the reason straws have gotten so much attention is that every day 500 million of these plastic straws are used once and they're thrown away. Because they're small, people often don't even put them in trash cans, so that they contribute a lot to street trash. They get into waterways. It's terrible for animals. And they're not recyclable anyway in most cases because of their small size, and they contain such little plastic. So they wreak havoc. So that part makes sense. That's why straws have become a thing. There's been a movement to replace plastic straws, either by having people carry around their own reusable metal straw, to only give customers straws when they've asked for them instead of bringing them to everybody. There are some alternative straws made of like paper and bamboo and different things. Every one I've tried is truly terrible. Some coffee shops I go to have switched to these for iced drinks, and they just fall apart into mush within 10 minutes. So it's true that while the straws aren't a lot of plastic, the things Trump is mentioning often are paper, and the large plastic items are recyclable. So he just doesn't get why people are even talking about straws. Okay. The really important message here is, no matter what we as individuals do in terms of consumer choices like these, if we don't have big picture wholesale change to pollution, resource usage, and energy usage, this stuff is a drop in the bucket. And that's why all of these consumer movements are fine to the extent that they'll inform people. Hopefully they will impact human behavior in some way that makes a small change. But Trump is sort of getting at the idea that, listen, we're not going to solve the climate crisis, that is, with straws. We need to be thinking way bigger. The problem is Trump's against most of those way bigger picture changes that need to be made. He's trying to revitalize an industry that should be allowed to die, both because it's failing and it's terrible for the environment. The coal mining industry, just as one example. Trump's reducing benefits, or trying to reduce financial benefits on electric cars. He is completely right that if we have this myopic focus on straws, we're missing the bigger picture. He just doesn't understand how we're missing the bigger picture, and he's against most of the bigger picture changes that would need to be made. If we even want to look just at like landfills, right? If you just look at solid waste landfills, it's obviously mostly not straws or even items for eating food. It's electronics products, it's wood and large industrial plastics. If we zoom out and look at the bigger picture of solid waste beyond just consumer, we're talking about industry and manufacturing and construction that are generating just untold amounts of waste, way bigger than straws. We zoom out a little more and you realize if we really want to fix this issue, we've got to look at energy usage and then figure out where is energy usage coming from. And this dwarfs the straw issue. So my point is not laugh at the plastic straw people or laugh at Trump for what he said. The plastic straw people have a specific cause. It's a logical one. Trump seems to be identifying that the straw issue is not the be all end all. The bring your own grocery bag movement. It's a good movement. But what we have to realize is that we have to be thinking way, way bigger than these retail level consumer choices, which are important. But if we want to make real change happen, and this is why lots of corporations end up getting behind these movements, we need to look at industry and we need to look at transportation big picture and we need to look at energy. This is why a lot of big corporations will say, oh, yeah, we're fully behind the plastic straw thing going to paper or only bringing straws when people ask for them. They are appearing to be part of the solution, while the real problem, which is the much broader use of energy, transportation, fossil fuels that these huge corporations contribute to, that gets ignored every time the attention gets put on straws. So Trump is right. Straws are not the solution, but he's against most of the solutions that really would make a big impact.